We are with the Sgt Michael Burke, my Fort Hood brother. We were in Fort Hood together, and you've been through quite a journey, and I'm thankful you're joining us today because there's a lot of people out there that can learn a lot from what you've been through. You have the hallmark injury of this war, which is TBI, traumatic brain injury. How did that happen?
It happened November 29, 2006, about 10 years ago now, almost 10, a few days from 10. While I was overseas in Iraq, we were riding down a route next to this kind of historic site in Iraq. It's something that, a lot of people in the Abu Ghraib area, every soldier wants to go see. I mean, it's historic, it's man-made, it's from a long time ago. And we were riding through a street, and they had rocks placed in roads. Hindsight, when you look back at it, you're like, man, that probably wasn't the smartest idea to drive through there. They had rocks laid out in the road, and we just, cruising our Humvees through there, get to the other side, and we were operating a CROW system, which is it's a weapon system that is operated from inside the vehicle instead of having your gunner exposed on the outside of vehicles. It's basically, a video game. And we had some problems with that out there. We were just testing it out. So we get back in line, the third vehicle in line at this time, and as we go back through this same area, you're only talking about 30 minutes. We moved back through the same area in the Serpentine, and I guess we zigged when we should have zagged, or zagged when we should have zigged, and we ran over that IED there and hit the rear tire, and we hit 3 155 rounds, and blew at the bottom of the vehicle, launched our vehicle into the air. I was ejected, thrown, not quite sure how far, but about 60 feet from the vehicle, and knocked unconscious. Pretty much how that happened.
So what does it feel to be thrown around like a rag doll, which is essentially what happened?
Yeah, it all happens in slow motion, really. When I was thrown, I was it felt like I was grabbing for the steering wheel and all that, and real slow, and just you're out of control. You're kind of in the hands of, I guess, God, or whatever else is out there.
So those few seconds just dragged, and that often happens in trauma, like right when you get that injury. And this wasn't your only injury. You had some other injuries too. You had some blood coming out. And
yes, I had shrapnel on my left arm, and a lot of back pain, and yeah, definitely shrapnel all up and down my left arm.
So do you remember the pain, or what do you remember when it happened?
No, I don't really remember it hurting at all. I remember, ears ringing, can't really concentrate, real foggy, not really sure what exactly is going on. Not a lot of pain. Pain didn't come till a lot later, really hospital.
Mm-hmm. And that's often the case, like right when you have an intense moment like this, your adrenaline kicks in and you don't feel that pain. So medically that makes sense. But now, you're sitting here with me 10 years later from our Fort Hood days, and did you know those few seconds that dragged on for what seemed like eternity would affect you 10 years later? And how does it affect you?
No, I didn't know at the time how it would affect me, but shortly after I returned to combat, a few more small IEDs here and there, got back to Fort Hood about 12, 14 months later, and promoted to sergeant and training and stuff, and I started having seizures.
Right.
Started with migraines, and then progressively seizures, and at first didn't really know what those were, wasn't really telling anybody about it. I pretty much knew that my combat career was definitely probably over. Mm-hmm. Had a seizure in front of battalion commander, and that's when everything changed for sure.
Right, right. And so I'm interviewing you here as a doctor. Help doctors like me. I mean, we struggle with traumatic brain injury because if you come in and you break your arm, I can get an x-ray and see it. If you have a heart attack, I can get an EKG and see it. But with TBI, or traumatic brain injury, we can't see it. Yes. And it's you may be having some fogginess, vision loss, hearing loss, or seizures, which we can see. How can looking back with your 10 years of experience on this, how can the medical community help you better, and how have they helped you?
I got you. Well, I'd say, back then even not a lot of stuff was known about concussions and things like that, and not really looked into it. You go back to mission, nobody really knows how those things are going to react. But I'd say, I'd say a lot that hurt from it was the continued concussions after that. That was probably helped and intensify those things. And even awareness on your own, it's hard to self-report. You're a soldier. You don't want to tell nobody. You want to continue fighting. You don't want to people to feel you're broken. It's part of an infantryman's mentality. You know what I mean?
How many explosions have you been in? You've been in a lot.
I'd say about 8.
8.
Yeah.
So you've been in 8 explosions.
Yeah.
So you had the brain injury, which I think the best way for our audience to understand it is it's like a paper bag filled with air just bashing you. So it's the air wave, the pressure wave. Yes,
it's the wave that pushes over you. It almost like pushes you and then sucks you. It's a weird, intense feeling. The doors blew open. It's just a weird feeling. Definitely a paper bag or a balloon, or if someone's in a car. I'd say a small factor would be if you're in a car and you roll one window down and the flutter, it's like that, just intensified, 1,000 times.
Intensified enough to blow, vehicles several feet, enough to blow doors open, to break windows.
Absolutely.
So it's an intense air blast. So it makes sense that when your brain is in your skull, that too gets whipped around in the fluid that surrounds the brain and the skull, and you get traumatic brain injury.
Yes, you do.
So how, a lot of people, so your wife's name is Nicole?
Yes, sir.
A lot of Nicoles out there listening, their loved one went through a traumatic brain injury. A lot of your people like your kids listening. How can they help someone like you? How can someone who may be wanting to help, donate to Battle Continues or some cause, how can they help?
Yes, the biggest thing with family is just the patience with the veteran. It's the memory loss, the anxiety. One thing with my TBI is a lot of dizziness that comes with it out of nowhere. You're walking around and you get dizzy, your equilibrium goes off. It's a lot of patience with family and stuff. And as to help out, maybe donating stuff, it's huge research, even, as far as like CTE with the football players and just, understanding it more. But I know it's hard to understand, because even as severe as my TBI is, MRIs, it really doesn't show that much. It's really hard.
They're invisible.
It's like chasing a ghost,
Right, they're invisible. Yeah. And where do you work now? What kind of work do you do, and how does this affect your job and everything?
Now I fish. That's what I do. I'm a sponsored fisherman.
Okay.
I go around and catch fish. It's a great job for sure. Take pictures with big fish, and it does affect it. You're out in a kayak somewhere, and it's always in the back of your mind. You're out in this kayak in the middle of a lake, middle of the body of water, thinking, man, what if I have a seizure?
Right.
What if you start getting dizzy, and then you get into the panic attacks, and you're like, how do I get back?
Right.
You definitely, it's a lot of more risk reward assessments in your life for sure. Driving, that could be a scary thing.
Right.
Where I am in Florida, if you have a seizure, you can't drive for 6 months. You got to go through all kinds of doctor evaluations. It's had a big impact on my life for sure.
Right.
In every aspects of it.
And thousands of lives. And I'm thankful you did this interview with us. I bond with you because we're both at Fort Hood, we're both infantry, and you are basically the model of what a lot of our soldiers are facing, the hallmark injury, traumatic brain injury. And we're going to learn a lot from guys like you and help generations in the future. Yes,
I'm looking forward to it, and I hope it definitely helps a lot for sure.
Yeah.
And for everybody back there, man, just stay in it, and it gets better for sure. Why I'm here this weekend is for show to support. It's a hunting foundation created by a great guy, Terry, and they get the soldiers together. You go years and you forget about the camaraderie that you yearn to have again, and they get the soldiers together. You go on the hunt, and the hunting is great, but it really is a lot more than that. It's about getting back with your brothers And you know, a lot of these guys you don't know, but it doesn't matter. You've all seen and done the same things. And it just helps to, you know, joke around, all the fun stuff you used to do, and it helps relieve the pressure, opens you up, you know, and it's an experience that if anybody out there is struggling, it's definitely a place to go. It's good for your wives to get away, you know, you get some of that away time. Like, you know, as of now, it's been 2 days since we've seen our wives, and, you know, I miss my wife. I don't know when's the last time I missed her, but I definitely do now. And it's just, I mean, it's heartwarming. I don't want to ruin the surprises or anything for anybody who's going to come and do this in the future, but I will say that it's a must, definitely. It's something that you got to put on your bucket list for sure. It is probably the best time of my life besides serving my country.
Excellent. How's it helped your injury? Like, has it been healing in any way to your TBI?
Yeah, I would say it is. You know, a big part of TBI can be kicked off with anxiety. Anxiety can start the TBI. You know, it really, I guess it helps escalate the steps towards seizures and stuff. You know, it really does, and it's definitely. I mean, I haven't been this relaxed in, I mean, probably 8 years. I'd say for sure. I mean, it feels good. Definitely feels good.
Good. Well, great to have you.
Battle continues.